DC's new show, Lanterns, is supposed to be a new beginning for the Green Lantern franchise. After the disaster of the Ryan Reynolds movie back in 2010s, this is supposed to be opening a new chapter, bringing in new fans, and completely removing what was once thought a joke of the DC universe. Does this series accomplish that goal? Well, let's dive into it. You can let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are. Let's start from the very beginning. We have Hal Jordan revealing his secret identity to the world. Why in the world does he do this? We never get an answer. But he came out and made a decision that, hey, it's best for me to reveal my story, to reveal it to the world. And a little boy by the name of John Stewart is watching this reveal on the television as his brothers watch for his dad's arrival, and supposedly they're not supposed to be watching the TV for some unknown reason. Once the dad gets home, he figures out what's going on. He asks his son what is his name, and his son just tells him Hal something, even though he just heard the name Hal Jordan, and you can tell how important it is for this young man. So the dad takes the kid, brings him out, puts him in front of the barn, has him put an apple on top of his head, and shoots his gun at his son. Thankfully, it doesn't hit his son, it hits the apple. And the dad asks, "Do you fear that, son?" And his son's like, "I have no fear, Dad." Supposedly, this is supposed to be prepping the boy to become the next Green Lantern. But in my mind, that's just making him idiotically comfortable with death, is probably the best way I can put it. Like, who in the world shoots a gun at their 10-year-old son and thinks like, yeah, this is a healthy way to raise a child? Obviously, there's no mother in the picture because she would not have a single minute for this BS that the dad's doing. But then we get jumped forward all the way to 2016. See, young John Stewart has gone through the Marines. He is now an Marine Army sniper who's now out of there, and he's just at the boxing gym, leaves it, and who does he come across? Hal Jordan coming up to him in an old car, apologizing for being late, and John Stewart doesn't say anything, he just gets into the car. At this point, Hal Jordan starts pestering John Stewart, like, hey, aren't you mad? Aren't you upset? Like any normal person, like, hey, I just went and disappeared for 2 weeks. Do you have anything to say to me for just doing that? And John Stewart just like, nope, I got nothing to say to you. Now, I don't know this is supposed to betray a sense of him respecting Hal Jordan or him being so pissed off at Hal Jordan that he's giving him silent treatment. I honestly don't know exactly what's going on here. One would say, well, the silent treatment, that's more of a chick thing to do. Well, you're going to learn that John Stewart is kind of a chick. Like, this is not John Stewart from the Justice League cartoon from when we were kids. This is John Stewart from what feminists think a black man should be. It's probably the best way I can put it. Unoffensive, kind of weak, kind of pathetic. That's probably the best way I can kind of summarize what a feminist would like John Stewart to be. Because this John Stewart doesn't seem to have much personality. Because as we're driving along here, you can see that Hal Jordan is questioning him, probing him, trying to push his buttons to get him to react in some ways besides the strict military code. Now, I have no idea how long he's been trained. I think he's been trained with Hal for about a month, if I remember correctly. He then disappeared for 2 months, so they haven't been training all that long together. And he then whines and complains to Hal, like, hey, we've been training together for some time now. You haven't let me wear the ring once. Like, I was sought by the Guardians to be your replacement, but you haven't let me wear it at all. And Hal, for whatever genius idea, decides to give John Stewart his ring that he's never worn before and told him, like, here, take this. I'm going to catch you up at the taco stand, half a mile up the road. I'll catch you in a bit. And he then dives out of his car, leaving John Stewart alone with it as it tumbles off the road. Now, let me stop there. How do you think this show is going so far? Do you think that this is an amazing Hal Jordan that we have that's guiding John Stewart to becoming a new Green Lantern? Do you think that this is indicating, a really strong individual of John Stewart to become a Green Lantern himself. The fact that he had to be interviewed to be Hal Jordan's replacement. Newsflash for those who don't know the Green Lantern lore. You are chosen by a ring to become the next Green Lantern to patrol a sector of space. You are not interviewed by the Guardians. That has never been in the lore as far as I'm aware. Of course, I will be honest, I'm not the biggest comic book fan. I'm probably more of a fan of what we've seen on the DC animated shorts and TV shows, but I've consumed at least enough knowledge from the media and from other people who talked about the Green Lanterns, and I have read a few books, but not a lot, I'll be completely honest there. But I know at least enough of the universe to know that's not how it's done. The way that this show is portraying is that Hal Jordan should not have ever gotten the ring. He doesn't train people well. He's arrogant. He doesn't have good communication. There's one point where, as I said, John Stewart questions him if he should even got the ring. Like, he should have been interviewed. He should have gone through a process. It should not just have came to him. He should have gone through a method, like he's in some kind of army. Because the only kind of power you can have is if someone in a bureaucracy goes through your history and then decides if you're worthy of something or not. That is the showrunners that we have this, and it becomes more blatantly clear as the show goes on. Now, John Stewart, for his part, he creates some kind of wrapper himself to save himself from the car crash, and he starts walking back to the taco stand. Upon his walking back to the taco stand, what does he do? Does he just contemplate about the lesson that Jordan was trying to do? Does he just keep it inside? Does he let his frustration for what just happened to him fuel his rage to get to Hal Jordan, fuel his will to understand what was the purpose? No, of course not. He goes ahead and whines to his dad about what's going on. And then we have what could be only surmised as a conversation of, hey, they can crash out like that. We can't. Are you talking about superheroes can crash out like that and normal civilians can't? Or are you talking about race relations where white men can throw a fit and act like madmen, but because of the black man stereotype of getting angry, black man can't? What is the message that we're supposed to get here? Because subtlety is not this show's strong suit. As we get into it, you're going to see that a sledgehammer and a stick of dynamite is the closest thing that they ever come to being subtle about any topic in this show. Now, John Stewart concludes that call with his dad, saying like, yeah, I can take it. I can suck it up. I'll become the next Green Lantern. And he goes back off to meet Hal Jordan. Now, as he's going, all of a sudden, some hologram shows out of the blue, and this hologram is like 10 years younger. For whatever reason, he hasn't been updating his ring with his personality, which is weird because you would need to update the ring with the lantern every so often. Exactly the time frame, I don't know. Some fan out there can let me know. As far as I'm aware, it depends on how much usage the ring has. The more you use the ring, the sooner you'll need to recharge it from the lantern. Exactly how often just depends on how often you use it. But it would be definitely shorter than a 10-year time scale than what this ring is telling us. There should have been more of a way to update than what the ring is doing. But the ring introduces him, questions why John Stewart has the ring, because it doesn't make any sense for John Stewart to have the ring. Yeah, yes, some individuals can have the ring and use it temporarily if a Green Lantern lets you, but that's a very rare occasion, and not everyone can wield a ring because you need to have willpower to do it. Not everyone has enough willpower to do that, to make constructs out of nothing but your imagination. So we have this conversation with this ring entity who gives a warning to John Stewart that, hey, there is a hailstorm in Rushmore, Nebraska. Doesn't say anything else than that. Just a coded phrasing that means nothing to us as a viewer. John Stewart goes and heads and gets to the taco stand where he meets Hal Jordan. Now, Hal Jordan at this point, he is being loved by everyone. They're taking pictures. They're getting autographs. People are just loving him there. Now, hold on to that image, because this is going to be completely different from the way the rest of the show portrays Hal Jordan, how everyone interacts with him. If it wasn't for this scene, one could just presume that he's a failure out of a Green Lantern, that no one loves him. But you have all these common people that seem to be loving him for some reason. We'll be getting to that later on. But Hal Jordan talks with John Stewart like, hey, so how did it go? What did you make? What did you do with the ring? Did you make a racetrack to save the car and yourself? Did you add wings to the car to fly off and save yourself? What did you do? And John Stewart just comes out and says, I made bubble wrap around myself. And hey, you know what? Not easy, I take it, but at least come up with something better than what you provided us here. Like, dear God. Anyways, they have a conversation, and John Stewart then reveals to Hal Jordan, hey, there's a message for you, something about a hailstorm in Rushmore, Nebraska. Does that mean anything to you? And immediately, Hal Jordan takes off. Now, it's important for me to note that he doesn't have a green shield around him. We don't see any flying. He looks like Superman flying away. And the reason why I bring this up is because throughout this show, you'll see that they don't care about the details. If this was really a Green Lantern, we should see a green hue around. Even if it's cheap, we should see some kind of green glow around Hal Jordan as he flies off, indicating that the will of his ring is being used to create a shield. Because otherwise, how in the world is he flying through space? What's projecting him through it? Like, it'd be the ring's power, but what's doing it? We need a bit more explanation than what they're providing us here. But the showrunners don't care about the details. In fact, they don't really necessarily care about a Green Lantern show. Now, thankfully for John Stewart, he knows where Hal Jordan's going, to Rushmore, Nebraska. And it's now up to him to catch a ride there and meet up with Hal Jordan to continue his training and to discover what the heck is going on with Rushmore, Nebraska. Why is there a hailstorm going there? So he then spends the next 6 hours traveling there, and we see all these clips. Like, thankfully, he knows where to go. Now, once he arrives there, there's a whole massive crime scene going on around the football field where he finds Hal Jordan up in the bleachers. Now, before then, though, he runs into the cops and tells them, like, hey, I'm here with Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern. And the cops don't seem all that impressed. They're like, oh, yeah, we've been expecting you. Or, hey, yeah, welcome aboard. Yeah, this way. Let me show you where the man is. He calls up his superior that turns out to be our female boss sheriff. Da, da, da. Yeah, I'm sure all of you were shocked that we have a female boss sheriff in charge of this whole situation. It just doesn't stop, does it, boys? So after he gets allowed permission to enter into the crime scene, to go up into the bleachers to talk with Hal Jordan, they then have a conversation of wondering, like, hey, why did you just leave me there? And Hal comes up with, like, I was testing you. I wanted to see if you had the ability to follow along. Good job for doing it. Yeah, it wasn't much of a test. He literally knew where he's going. The only thing that required is, like, having the money and hoping that Hal Jordan just didn't take off without him being there. Now, one could be wondering, why does Hal Jordan dislike John Stewart so much? Well, it comes to a conversation here that John Stewart is supposed to be Hal Jordan's replacement when he dies. And John Stewart and Hal makes it very explicitly clear, like, hey, I'm not going to be giving up this ring until I die. Which I can't really disagree with that argument. It sounds like a pretty solid one to me. Like, hey, this is my job. This is what I'm here for. And I don't plan to pass away anytime soon. So get in line, bucko. Now, John Stewart just brushes off, just like, whatever. And then we have the following up where we get Bossy Boots Cher showing up, and she gives them a rundown like, oh yeah, it's such an honor that John Stewart's training under the great Hal Jordan, completely disrespecting him for whatever reason. Like, Hal Jordan's probably saved the planet more times than anyone there can count. And when Hal Jordan says, like, hey, I need to get involved with this. This is doing with aliens. She just brushes him off like, no, this has nothing to do with aliens. This is just a normal homicide of mass shooting, like as far as normal can be. Now, with that, she leaves them be, brushes them off, and heads back down, completely disgusted with them. And for whatever reason, Hal Jordan likes this type of character. For whatever reason, Hal Jordan's like, yeah, that's a woman, you know, the one who just hates your guts. I'm like, I don't think that's part of Hal Jordan's character. Correct me wrong, but that sounds like the writers just trying to be like, yeah, isn't the boss babe awesome? Don't we all just want this bossy lady for us just to care for and just boss us around to wear the pants in a relationship? Like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but at least that's what I'm getting the vibe from it, that you're supposed to love the sheriff, this girl boss. And as far as I can tell, there's not really much there for me to care for. And there's a lot more unique, interesting things going around her, at least that's somewhat interesting. But I'm just like, why? Why do you guys make her like this? You could have made her so much better, and yet now she's just a pain in the ass to deal with. Now, Following that little meet and greet, uh, Hal's like, "Hey, so Stewart, what do you see? What happens? What happened here?" Stewart gives his rundown, gives a brief summation that, hey, the home field team accidentally fell into the field. The visitor teams joined them, and that caused a fight. Some people were carrying since it's Nebraska, and some people died. And he then turns his back on Hal, like, but no, that explains like why you're still here. And Hal's just like, dude, this is my job. I've been doing it for a while. Like, if you can't cut it out, you can't figure it out, then you're just screwed. Stewart goes back, looks at the field, sees a sweatshirt on the field, and you're like, oh shit, somebody's still here. And he's like, yeah, that's a short sleeve guy. Not sure why he's still hanging around. He's been here since I've been here. And Stewart's like, oh, you must have told the sheriff, right? But why? Like, if the sheriff's such a great cop, why doesn't she already have him pegged? Why doesn't she have him in custody? What in the world is going on? And Stewart's like, so have you told the sheriff? And Hal's like, no. Like, why would I do that? This is my investigation. She just get in the way of it. This has to do with aliens. And he's like, this is her crime scene. You gotta follow the chain of command, man. And just kind of completely brain dead, not even in the mind of someone who's supposed to be a detective, a cop, someone who's supposed to be working the scene from the alien side. And Hal's just like, hey, you want to go tell her? Be my guest. And he goes down right up to her face and tells her exactly what he thinks. And she's just like, yeah, I clocked that too. Like, you probably just blew your cover here. Like, we've been watching for the last 6 hours now. Which makes no sense. Like, if you've been watching for 6 hours and there's no cops around the few remaining people, especially if he's a key suspect, why is he off by himself? Because immediately he picks up like, oh shoot, the cops are onto me. He takes off running for the school, which makes no sense. The fact that he's able to get into the school makes no sense. Like, you would have cops all over that place. You would have DEA, you would have FBI, you would have departments or communities all coming together because this is a mass shooting event in a small community. Yeah, it's going to rile people up. People are going to be like, hey, what's going on? So there's going to have a lot of law enforcement there, especially with it being 6 hours later. But somehow he gets into the school, and Stewart, he's just running after him, and for whatever reason, takes like a bottom corridor underneath the gym that's supposed to be a shortcut to get him outside, which allows him to clock him. Like, I don't know if anyone's been in an American high school gym and under an underpass underneath the gym, but that would not be the fastest route. The fastest route is just to chase after the guy and catch up to him and then tackle him. But I guess it's a good thing that Stewart did that because he did not come out. Female cop shows up, cannot cuff him to save her life, and so she has two other cops come over and arrest him. So either that means she hasn't been out of the field that much, or she's completely incompetent at her job. I'm kind of inclined to believe both at this point in time. From there, they part ways. For whatever reason, Hal and him don't talk until they get to the bar. And once they get to the bar, Hal then just starts putting in some music to annoy the bar guys. While they're at the bar, Hal then tells Stewart about his way he got the ring. How he was a test pilot, how the ring came to him, flew him out to this alien that was coughing up blood, that then gave him the ring. They never say the name of the alien, which is Abun Sur. They never say his name. They just tell us how he met up with this particular alien. Like, it would have been at least nice that they would have dropped his name, but at least they stayed with the core way that Hal got his ring. At least we have that at the very least. Now, at this point, Hal then reveals to Stewart that, hey, I'm going to get into a fight, and from that fight, I'm going to go into the cell to talk with the perp to get some more information. And John Stewart's just like, that's a dumb plan, man. But you know what? It's disrespecting Hal Jordan's legacy and making him look like a moron. So they continue with the plan. Hal tells Stewart, like, hey, I know you want to jump in and help me, but just stay on the sidelines. And Stewart's like, yeah, have at it, man. And so Hal goes ahead and starts roughing up the townsfolk and starts getting into a fight. While this is going on, he starts talking to old lady to the side of him. who's been obviously eavesdropping on their conversation. And she's like, well, why don't you put on the ring for the space cop, buddy? He's like, well, I don't really think he wants the ring. And she's just like, well, this is what you want. And he's just like, nah, I'm just patient. I'll just wait. And she's like, no, you're not. And then she has him come out to her car with her. And turns out she's a lot lizard. Like, bro, have some standards, okay? Like, I know there's not a lot out there in Nebraska, but come on. You're going to hit up the granny? I don't know. That's what the show decided to do. So, after shaking down the granny, it cuts to the next day, and John Stewart heads to the police station to pick up Hal Jordan. Unfortunately, the cops are going to force him to go through arraignment, so he has to go stand trial. And he never even got the chance to question the perp that he wanted to because they put him in completely different areas. She put Hal in the broom closet and let the suspect in, I'm guessing, the holding cell that they keep him in. Now, once he gets to the judge then questions him like, hey, so what were you doing here? Hal's like, hey, I'm here to investigate the occurrence that happened at the football field. And he's like, oh, what department of law enforcement are you with? And this part is super annoying because Hal Jordan has been doing this for a very, very long time. So this would not be the first time that he gets questioned by law enforcement, that he gets questioned by a judge, that he gets put into a courtroom. But he comes up with like, well, um, I'm a Green Lantern. The way he should say, like, I'm a Green Lantern who's in charge of protecting this planet, all planets within my sector, from alien incursion, which I suspect is going on here. And I have this rap sheet of preventing other alien invasions or preventing other supernatural phenomenon from happening to this planet. Like, that's the thing, like, you want to have all this history that's going on, but it seems like no one either knows of it, that doesn't come into account, that doesn't even be a consideration at all in the story. Like, they want two things to be true at the same time. Like, Hal is a legendary hero. Hal, no one really cares for. Hal, that people really love. Hal, that for some reason law enforcement really dislikes. But Hal is supposed to be here to save people. Like, make up your mind. What do you want Hal to be? Unfortunately, it's not going well for Hal at this point in time. Thankfully, there's a lawyer that shows up to represent Hal out of the blue, and the lawyer is able to get bail set for him. And at that point, they decided to set it at $200,000 because Hal says, "Come on, really, really? Okay, fine. You know what? That do what you guys want to do." It just the whole part of this courtroom drama is just dumb in my opinion. With that, Hal's pretty suspicious about what's going on, and the lawyer's like, "Yeah, I just want you to come talk to my father-in-law. He's the one who's paying for it." And so they head out to his father-in-law's farm that evening. But to make the whole situation even more interesting, is the lawyer is the husband to the sheriff. So the sheriff, the lawyer, all go out to the lawyer's father's farm. Now, exactly what's on that farm for Hal and Stewart? Well, it turns out that's where the militia are. You know, the scary guys with guns. You know, the people who aren't right underneath the government boot, who are able to carry and practice shooting. The ones that this show obviously make depicted as menacing and dark and shadowy guys. Like, you have to love that the militia is Hollywood's favorite thing to go to paint American patriotism as an evil thing. Like, as soon as we talk with this guy, we know for a fact, like, okay, either this guy is evil or someone in his militia has to be evil because you can't have what he's about to say be done by a good guy. And what does he say? His greatest crime that he says is that, hey, you as a law enforcement of the galaxy want to protect Earth. So do we. We don't want alien incursions to come here and to conquer us. He goes into a bit of history on how, hey, when colonial happens, the native populations usually don't suffer well under it, and we want to prevent that. Giving you a real sense of modern day politics, because you literally had to just switch the word alien to immigrant, and you pretty much have a one-to-one comparison going on here. And Like, for whatever reason, Hal is not 100% on board. Like, hey, yeah, let's go together. Give me a whole rundown. I'm totally with you. No, he's hesitant. He's like, yeah, I don't trust you. I don't really agree with you. And the dude's like, hey, we don't need to trust together, but we both have mutual interests here. I want to protect my people because they got hurt in that skirmish, and you want to track down the aliens that are doing this. It's a win-win situation that's going on here. So I just don't understand the showrunners trying to paint him as a bad guy, except for he's militia, he's a Christian guy, and presumably he's right wing. So that makes him the villain number one in this entire season, so far at least in my book. That's just going off of what the Hollywood basic formatting is when they decide when someone is a villain, at least as far as I can tell. Also, we learned that John Stewart is a vegan. Like, oh, why? Why? We haven't start cooking up some vegan burgers for John Stewart and all that. And at the same time, while this is going on, turns out that Lot Lizard is the wife of the dude that Hal is currently talking to, of the militia leader. Like, really, what in the world? Why? I mean, I get it, small town, but dear God. And even gives an indication that um, the militia guy knows and he approves of it. Like, what in the world? It's just messed up, man. Oh, this show is such a trash fire. And just to go to show, it shows that the cop that's been giving Hal and Stewart a hard time, she's compromised by her father-in-law. At least that's what's presumed. She's bought and paid for, because she has not allowed Hal and Stewart to talk with the suspect at all until she has a little chat with her father-in-law, who then miraculously makes her agree to show them and have an interview with the suspect at 9 a.m. the next morning. How this is done, the show never says, but we're supposed to presume from her warning to Hal and John that, hey, get out of here while you can. This is a bad place. You don't want to be here. Get out. Don't get involved. And Hal's like, I'm already involved, and I'm sticking it through. So that's setting up the dominoes for the militia and for the dad to be evil. Like, why in the world couldn't this just be a communist commune for once being evil? Couldn't this just be a hippie group? Couldn't this be Antifa? Couldn't this be Black Lives Matter? It always has to be a militia or right wing group. Hollywood is so predictable, it's just laughable at this point. Now, with that said, Hal and John get to the precinct the next day. They get criticized for being late. They never tell us what time it is, though. So presumably, they could have gotten there at 9:01, and she's just chewing their asses. I'm not giving her any benefit of doubt. She has been a BI for the entire time. So I'm sorry. She just has a sticker up her butt. And it continues when Hal goes in to question the suspect. She goes like, how can you be with this guy? Person who's uncaring, person who doesn't like people, person who's just alone. He's not fearless. He's just desperate, alone, and uncaring. Like, forgive me for what? Like, he is the Green Lantern. He saves people. That's a pretty brave thing to say to someone who is literally loved and cared for by people. Someone who is, gracious enough to come to your little town to try and protect people. The sheriff is just BS, man. Like, I don't care for her at all. And John Stewart, his reasoning for following Hal, although it's somewhat of a good reason, but I disagree with it slightly because he just says because he's fearless. Well, okay, that's good, but not because he also has a strong will, that he also, knows what he's doing. He saved the world several times. He makes a difference. Like, none of these good attributes we can apply to Hal Jordan. Of course, we want to destroy the character of Hal Jordan, so we cannot do that. Now, the genius way that Hal Jordan's going to get information out of this suspect is he's going to just throw some football questions at him, which the dude answers perfectly, and then he asks him about Harry Potter, about what school he went to. And I kind of like it a little bit because it shows that these are individuals that come to Earth and they got their targets. They know specific information, but they don't know the wider world context. These are not beings that have been here for a long time, that have not consumed a lot of media. Now, to be fair, if this was just a random person in Nebraska, supposedly they wouldn't know all the ins and outs of Harry Potter. Now, with that said, Harry Potter is a national phenomenon, a worldwide phenomenon. So if you asked, hey, what was the name of the school that Harry Potter went to? I think most people could say Hogwarts. Or you could at least come up with a line like, man, I don't really care for fantasy. I'm more into sports. Fantasy's just not my thing. Like, they could have written that character to have, you know, a good way out of that situation. Whereas there's like, yeah, I just don't really care for that. Instead, it makes the character look guilty when he doesn't answer Hal uh, with a good response. And you're just like, okay, maybe something's going on here. But that's not the end all be all. Because then he brings Barack Obama up. And the dude's like, I have no opinion about Barack Obama. And it's just like, you don't have an opinion of Barack Hussein Obama. And the dude's just like, I know there's something about the birth certificate issue, but not really. And that's what sets off how, like, you're a bona fide alien. Now, the reason why, for people who don't know, is that Nebraska in the United States is considered Republican territory. A lot of Republicans, a lot of right wing people live in there, and a lot of people have opinions about Barack Obama. In all honesty, though, the birth certificate is kind of on the bottom of a lot of people's negative opinions about Barack Obama. But the fact that he did not have an opinion about that at all is interesting. But he could have brought up like Hillary Clinton because this is taking place in 2016. So why didn't you bring up Hillary Clinton? You don't have opinions about a woman president. You don't have opinions about XYZ, about her being incapable of being able to lead. Like, he could have asked those questions, but I guess that would have been just a little bit too on the nose, even though Barack Obama, like, okay. Like, you could have asked a question about Trump, like, so do you like Trump? Like, I guess if you're going to go down the political route, there is no real way uh, for it to look good, at least not for the quality of writers that they have for the show. There is a way to do it where you can, like, okay, that's insightful, that's an interesting way of questioning without getting too political, without looking like Hollywood just bashing one side, mostly the Republican side of the aisle, which is kind of what they've been doing a lot throughout the show. Now, at this point, the alien, realizing he's been caught, goes on this whole hypothetical rant of like, how dare your planet care more about leather balls going through hoops instead of your environment? How dare you try to interrupt my investigation that I've come here to track down someone for a war crime? Like, it's a whole interesting conversation that is just full of BS. And he even tells Hal Jordan, like, hey, I got a bomb implanted into my spine. And if you let me go, the bomb won't go off. But if you keep me held captive by a Green Lantern, I can't promise anything. This might just go off with a single thought in my head. Now, thankfully, this bomb has a timer on it. So if he does decide to go exploding, he's going to have some time to get out of the way before they all die. Now, at this point in time, to rile up Hal Jordan, he starts singing the Oath of the Green Lanterns. And for whatever reason, that riles him up. Now, this is the explanation that the showrunners give.
We have to get it into the pilot in some way.
In brightest day and blackest night,
Don't.
no evil shall escape my sight.
It's essential to the character. It connects them to what makes the Green Lanterns different than other superheroes, which is the fact that they're part of a community. We're meeting a Hal that's in a very sort of cynical moment in his life, who's kind of done it all. But there's still some things he takes seriously.
Beware my power. Green Lantern's light.
So when the alien does that and uses kind of that voice of like, this is so stupid, that really bugs him. Because to Hal, that's sacred.
Blinking as the guy was going off, because at this point in time, Hal Jordan just grabbed him and threw him against the wall for whatever reason. I didn't really quite understand it. I know you're pissed that he's saying the Green Lantern oath, but I guess I didn't really understand why that ticked you off so much. Like, he's just trying to get to you now. So what was the whole point of that? Well, regardless, he grabs him, throws him against the wall, and he starts to blink. It not just exploding, not blowing up, which gives Hal Jordan enough time to put green energy shield around him, which then, once he explodes, almost blows Hal Jordan up as well, just leaving a giant hole in the precinct. At that point, he's just like, told you he was an alien. And that's where 2016 ends. We then go forward 10 years to 2026, where we see John Stewart driving back into Roseville, Nebraska, looking up to his side during a snowstorm, seeing the ranch where the militia was at completely destroyed. So presumably, there's a giant fight that happens there that destroys everything there. And we see that he's meeting up with the sheriff, who doesn't look like she's aged a day. And they go off to the bleachers where they find a body. Presumably, this is Hal Jordan shot in the head without a ring on his finger. Now, I say presumably this is what is going on, but we've already seen that there's an alien species on Earth, that they would take a form of a human. Apparently, there's only 14 species in the galaxy that can perfectly mimic people. I've heard some people say it's probably manhunters from Mars, possibly, but we don't know right now. So, is Hal Jordan dead? Maybe, possibly, more than likely. I'm going to say that's probably the biggest mistake of the show, because no one on the show is fun to watch except for Hal Jordan. The actor who's portraying him is doing a great job, but otherwise, everyone else, you can go kick rocks. Whenever you do the show that's going to be taking place in 2026, I'm not really going to care for it, but as long as you have Hal Jordan around in 2016, yeah, that should be at least somewhat enjoyable, I think. But yeah, that is Lanterns. That is the whole rundown. Overall, I think the cinematography is okay. You had a lot of browns and grays, not much color at all. You have some fun aspects to the show, but not much. You break Green Lantern lore wherever you can. You have John Stewart being interviewed, whereas that is not how he got his ring. You have no one respecting Hal Jordan for some reason, except for the everyday people at a taco stand, which shows that this world actually does love Hal Jordan, but some reason law enforcement hasn't stick up their ass because he deals with aliens, actual real aliens, and not just alien immigrants. I don't know, man. But this show, I'm probably going to keep on watching it just because I want to see this train wreck. But it's been a long time since I've seen a show hate its material like it does this, and hate the people who watch it, hate the fans. Because this was not made for DC fans. This was not made for people who enjoy superheroes. This show was made for an audience that enjoys true crime shows, but not superhero shows. And they want to deconstruct a hero in order to build up another hero. Their favorite playbook. Unfortunately, it's just as sucky as it did then. So we'll have to wait and see if it has a different result. But I want you guys to leave a comment down below. Did you like this episode? Did you find it inspiring? Do you want to go out and rewatch it right now? I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts are. Leave a like if you liked the episode. Leave a dislike if you did not. And don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe. Y'all take care now. Bye.